Today, I would like to speak on a hidden social issue in Singapore. It is an issue that many find uncomfortable to speak about, but increasingly lurks in the shadow for some. Addiction. Addiction knows no boundaries. It can affect a person of any age, class, background. Addictions destroy relationships, break up families, consume lives. And we are battling addictions of different forms. K-pots need no introduction. There are those who are addicted to gadgets and smartphones, gaming, excessive use of social media, doom scrolling, and others like binge eating, gambling, and alcoholism complete the gamut of addictions afflicting modern life today. What I would like to focus on today, however, is the serious and emergent threat or trend of sexually compulsive behaviors, one that is often facilitated by technology. I look at this through the lenses of two broad archetypes. First, the invisible and perhaps more insidious, non-offending compulsive behavior, like addiction to pornography. Such addictions silently chip away at an individual's productivity and positive relationships in his or her life. And second, offending behaviors such as voyeurism, upskirt videos, acts which cause significant harm to victims and carry serious legal consequences. I visited the We Care Community Services recently. We Care is the first non-denominational outpatient addiction recovery center in Singapore. They shared with me that the referral of sexually compulsive behavioral cases to them rose sharply in recent years. 198 cases in 2024 compared to 115 in 2020. And in the first 8 months this year alone, there have been 142 referrals. And We Care anticipates that the total number of referrals for 2025 will exceed 200 for the very first time. At the same time, statistics from the police show that the number of voyeurism cases, which include upskirt offences, increased from 476 cases in 2023 to 519 cases in 2024 last year. And the number of outrage of modesty cases increased by 21% from 666 in the first half of 2024 to 807 in the same period this year. The statistics are worrying, to say the least, and two questions come to mind. First, are we providing sufficient avenues and options for treatment and early intervention? Second, what preventive measures can we take before such addictions take root in our society? To be sure, Singapore has in place an ecosystem of support for those battling different addictions. The National Addictions Management Service, NAMS, at IMH, the Singapore Anti-Narcotics Association, SANA, and the National Council on Problem Gamblings are familiar go-tos. There are also ground-up efforts, We Care Community Services, which I've earlier referenced, and One Hope Center, which helps addicts recover from gambling, sex, and pornography addiction. And there are also private clinics that provide support for addiction treatment. Yet, challenges remain. First, it does not help that addiction is traditionally viewed as a moral failing or a lack of willpower on the part of the addict. Due to stigma, addicts would hide their struggles and avoid seeking help for fear of being judged or for bringing shame to their families. Often, by the time help is sought, the addict is in crisis, as the addiction would have by then already spun out of control. The staggering level of stigma associated with such deeply personal challenges would also mean that it is extremely difficult to size up just how pervasive this issue is in our community. For every addict that comes forward to seek help, just how many remain in the shadows? No one knows. But given prevalent societal norms and attitudes, the hyper-connected lives that we lead today, and the ease of access to explicit materials online, it would only be fair to assume that what we are seeing in reported statistics is but only the tip of a large and deep iceberg. There is good scientific evidence that addiction is not as much a personal failing as it is a chronic, progressive, and relapse-prone illness that affects an individual both physically and psychologically. In the 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, the World Health Organization defines compulsive sexual behavior disorder as an impulse control disorder. It is an illness for which there should exist a structured medical treatment plan. We Care runs a non-contact sexual offending therapy program, combining individual counseling with group work to support individuals struggling with compulsive sexual behaviors. The program helps participants understand the causes and consequences of their behaviors, address underlying psychological factors, and develop healthier coping skills to break the cycle and prevent reoffending. Client testimonials and outcomes from this program show that a structured program is key to helping an addict recover and rebuild. So, can we as a society accept that addictions of this nature is an illness needing proper treatment? And across our entire healthcare landscape, can an addict receive adequate and affordable treatment from diagnosis to full recovery in a structured manner? Like other chronic medical conditions, prevention is always better than cure. But any course of action begins with the admission. Yes, we do have a problem. Steps can be taken to address problems before they even start. We Care shared that many clients learn from sex from online sources, including pornography, at a young age. Such early experiences shaped undesirable sexual scripts that emphasize availability, instant gratification, objectification. Early exposure to online pornography is also a common risk factor for sexual offending. Our response to this cannot be outright bans, but we can introduce age-appropriate addiction and media literacy programs in schools and in the community to inoculate our young ones against such risks. As an Asian society where conversations on topics such as the birds and the bees are generally still avoided at home, we are at risk of delegating parenting responsibility to peer groups, or worse, shady internet sources. Addiction expert Gabor Mate theorized, and I quote, "How a lack of healthy adult guidance and unresolved childhood trauma and frustration can lead youth to seek out peer groups for their moral compass, a poor substitute for natural parental guidance," end quote. But I'll be one of the first to admit it is not easy. As a dad to a 5-year-old boy, I often ask myself, how or where do I even begin? My parents did not quite have those conversations with me when I was younger, but hard as it may be, we must equip parents with the language and the tools to talk about these and other sensitive topics with their children at home. Our homes must be safe harbors where our young ones feel comfortable enough to talk about anything under the sun. Families must be the default go-to as our young ones take on adulting and life's many other challenges. Parents must meaningfully engage in our children's lives, debunk myths purported by wayward sources such as pornography, and be their role models as our young ones seek out the true north when calibrating their impressionable moral compasses. Mr. Speaker, I seek your indulgence once again as I digress into some personal sharing. Like many members in this chamber, I run a tight schedule day to day. What little leisure that remains come in the form of post-midnight Netflix binge watching. I recently clicked on a title that appeared on my recommended list, Adolescence. The series initiated me to the world of incel, manosphere, red pills. I watched all 4 riveting episodes in a single sitting. Quickly realized I made a subpar choice for leisure and relaxation. But what an educational and eye-opening tour de force adolescence was in framing and illuminating some gripping challenges that youth of this generation faces. So for several sleepless nights after adolescence, I thought long and hard about how I might broach these issues with my son in a few years to come. I took heart in practical parenting tips I've received some time ago, which I thought offered good lessons. Where and when might I talk about such sensitive topics with my little one? That was my question some time ago. The reply was, consider a long drive. That way, the setting is relaxed, father and son need not meet eye to eye, and when things get too awkward, turn up the stereo, and a few tracks of K-pop Demon Hunters should help smooth things over. Sir, in Mandarin, please. 成瘾无国界，它可以影响任何年龄、阶层和背景的人。今天我想重点关注由科技催生的性强迫行为。无论是非犯罪行为，例如浏览色情网站，而因此成瘾，或是明显违法的行为，例如偷窥、群体偷拍视频，相关数据都描绘了一幅令人担忧的景象。成瘾一般被视为成瘾者道德上的缺陷或意志力的缺失。基于廉耻的考量，许多成瘾者尽量隐藏自己的挣扎，避免寻求帮助。他们怕被批判或给家人带来耻辱。通常等到真正寻求帮助时，成瘾者已深陷其中，成瘾的恶习在某个程度上已经无法自拔。成瘾是一种慢性、渐进性而且容易复发的疾病，对个人的身心造成许多负面的影响。针对这个问题，新加坡该如何在社区中采取更好的预防措施？同样重要的是，我们该如何帮助我们的家庭，把家庭塑造成安全的港湾？我们最终的目的只有一个，也就是让年轻的一代深切地感受到家的温暖、家的爱，让他们深深地了解，当他们在人生的长跑中碰到如成瘾或其他敏感的问题时，家人永远不会歧视，家人永远不会批判他们。So, Mr. Speaker, sir, let us do better. Let us confront the issue of addiction openly. Let us not shy away from uncomfortable conversations, but normalize safe, constructive dialogue, especially with our children. Let us work together to strengthen our support ecosystem so individuals suffering in silence feel safe to emerge from the shadows to seek help. With better understanding and support all around, we can change attitudes and help those who are suffering in the clutches of addiction recover and rebuild. Sir, I support the motion.